Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making your way here, checking out the episode and the series. I do hope you hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with all the interviews that we do every single week, new and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover the new ones. You can do so any of the usual podcast places, including Spotify and Apple Podcast, at NPR, WFPK.org, YouTube for the video versions right here. Anywhere you get your podcast from, you can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. That's me, Kyle Meredith. Today, my guest are the band Boy Named Banjo. Is the band Boy Named Banjo? We recorded this interview backstage at the Bourbon Beyond Festival right here in Louisville, Kentucky. In fact, it was with a partnership with Fender Premium Audio and Nissan trucks. And we got to do a whole lot of backstage fun, but then we got to sit down and actually talk about their new album, which is called Dusk. And this new album, it's their major label debut. I say it like that because they've been putting out records for a little over 10 years now. But of course, all those records were independent, but they made a great name for themselves. They played the Bonnaroo stages in between that time. In fact, they played a lot of stages, and we got to talk about that in the interview. And we got to talk about some of the influences and their sound. I mean, they sort of operate in the country world, but I liken them, as a country rock band in the same sense that the Eagles are a country rock band and the Counting Crows are a bit of a country rock band. So we get to hear about that. We get to hear about the relationship story that the album sort of tells and the fun they have writing about whiskey and, the moments you might regret, the nights, the morning after. All that is in here as again backstage at Bourbon and Beyond with Fender Premium Audio and Nissan trucks. We're talking about the album Dusk. It's Kyle Meredith with Boy Named Banjo.
Hello, guys. That's great. You guys are looking fresh from a fantastic show up there with a brand new record and lots of new music under your belt. The new record is called Dusk, and this is the major label debut, right? But I say that with the question right because you're not a new band. This is the major label debut, but we're looking at 10 years in the making. In fact, this record I think comes on the 10th anniversary of your debut album. Tell me about that a little bit because it seems like that's a great incubation time. That's a great incubation time to lead up to a major label debut. What does that mean for this record? How does this record set itself apart from anything you've done in the past?
I mean, we started out making music as an acoustic trio, very folky, very bluegrassy, and it feels like, every album we put out, we did it all ourselves, and it's kind of grown a little bit, but it feels like we finally settled into our sound with this record, because we've been playing shows for the past, 6 years, touring across the country, and really just getting better as a band, tighter, and you can kind of feel that in the music. And I think this is really our first,
It's interesting when you talk about finding your sound, because I think a lot of people, when you have the word banjo in the title, in the name, there's a certain idea. When it comes down to it, I mean, when I listen, and we all talk about genre and what does it even mean, but it's like you guys are a rock band. And to me, this is, as a listener, you guys are a rock band in the tradition of Counting Crows and Eagles and anything like that. As you talk about settling into your sound, what does that mean? What, if you can even define that?
I mean, our sound, it's just, we never really sat down one day and just said, let's be a band and let's just do this. We always just did it growing up, and we've just done it for this long. So we've come across a lot of stages, everything from bonfires to fraternity parties to weddings. We played a funeral before, music festivals, clubs. And so when you play all those venues, you kind of learn how to play to each of those crowds. And so over time, our sound's gotten bigger and bigger just because some of these festivals and stuff, you want to keep it high energy. And then we love reverting it back to an acoustic set. In fact, in our full set, we'll pull out one microphone and gather around it and kind of go back to our roots. Yeah. And then in the same show, we'll hit that distortion and rock out a little bit.
It's like we're a rock band that can still play around a campfire,
I think I have to ask about playing a funeral. I mean, there's some things you can't do. Like, how you guys doing out there, right? Like, these are the questions you don't ask.
We don't really accept funeral gigs anymore. Yeah, it was a one and done there.
That it does come exactly 10 years since the Tanglewood Sessions. Do you find that this album gets to speak to the past in that sort of way at all?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we always pay homage to our roots in some way. We always have a little bit of banjo. While banjo is not as predominant as it used to be maybe in our music, it's still there. It's kind of still the root in our music, the thread from Tanglewood.
Yeah. Of course, you'd have to have the foresight to even know it was going to land exactly 10 years. I don't know if that was there.
I didn't even know that, to be honest.
Yeah, that is luck right there. Coincidence.
Yeah, a nice coincidence. Well, digging into this then, one thing I did hear in this, and I think maybe you've talked a little bit about this, is that this record, Dusk, it's a journey album. And I don't know what that means because, from new love to parting ways, what is the story of this record?
I mean, from the top, it's a lot of like finding love, discovering love, falling in love, and then we kind of wanted to take the listener on a journey through the night with us. Like, we imagine people just hanging out with their friends, partying, having a little too much to drink, like that Whiskey Dream song. It's a great example of that, kind of in the middle of the record. And like waking up in the morning, you're reflecting back on your night and maybe a little bit more mature on the other side. And that's kind of where we left it with Opposite Directions.
Is that something you all figure out as you're recording it? Do you go into that going, we're going to tell a story? Or is that something you see in hindsight?
Well, some of these songs are years old, so it's taken us a while to get to the point where we could bring this much music to the label and have it all put out at one time. So a lot of it was we sat down, looked at what songs we had, and we found the common themes that kind of were naturally there over the course of, writing songs in 2018 to 2022 and 23 even. They kind of naturally fell into place in that way. We just didn't realize it until they were all sitting there.
Yeah. What is it? One of you all said this, I think it's in the press release, all these little red flags you might be willing to ignore because you're young and in love and having fun.
Yeah.
Do you learn something from the album as you go away from it?
I don't have a good answer. I'll let someone else. I was thinking
The answer is no. We do not have we have not learned our lessons yet.
I think once you hear the full project, you'll kind of get the answer to that. Dusk is not the full project.
Right, because you said that Dusk is the first half of a bigger project.
Yes.
Part one?
Yes, exactly. I think that's all we're allowed to say at this point, but you can kind of put it together.
Yeah. Could have been a double album, it sounds like.
We haven't put out a lot of music in a long time, so we're not just putting out 9 songs, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Let's, looking at some of these songs too, I was watching the video to Lonely in This Town, which is great, because here you are in a vehicle. And again, you talk about this album being great for late night driving, and that's what the video is. I'm gonna put you on the spot right here, all right? Everybody gets put on the spot. When you think about yourself in the truck, driving around at night, what's the song that's playing? Or the artist? Who's the go-to for late night driving?
Well, I know while we're at Bourbon Beyond, The Killers, I have been late night driving to their record, The Pressure Machine from 2021. That's my late night driving record.
I gotta say, and this is going back to my younger years when I was highly influential, probably the Eagles and that song Lion Eyes. It has kind of the same feel as Lonely in This Town, but yeah, that's what I imagine.
When I'm doing late night drives in the van, I like to put on usually Motorhead. Kind of pushes me to make it to the hotel that night. That's kind of my go-to, something to keep the energy up.
Yeah, I don't have a mic, so I'm gonna do this. Definitely, my favorite band for late night driving is a band called Underoath, which is like a hardcore metal band. That's kind of what I grew up listening to. It's my favorite band. So.
I have a weirdly specific answer for this one because, like we said, we've been touring for years, just the 5 of us in a van, no tour manager, no help, no nothing, and so we're doing a lot of late night driving, and whenever I had a late shift, my favorite song to play was Green Eyed Lady by Sugarloaf.
It's a great one too. Yeah. Now, do you guys ever think about, like famously, Tom Waits, Les Claypool, they would mix their albums in their car basically. Like they mixed it for driving. Like, do you all think about the album in that sort of way? Do you take the mixes over to?
Yeah, I mean that's like the car test. That's like the final step of mixing a record. Is like it's got to sound good there, because that's for a lot of people the best sound system they have and the one they're going to be using the most. And so if it doesn't sound good in the car, it doesn't sound good.
That's actually how we sequenced the record. We were just in the van, driving somewhere, and we had all these songs. We're like, let's put it in order right now. Yeah. So that's how we did it.
Yeah,
cruising around.
That's a great way to do it, because I mean it's such a personal space. You're in there, the sound's kind of blasting at you. Like, that's where I like to listen to all my, it's the best place. All the music. Now I know we've got some Fender players here too. So for it's bass, right? Yeah. What made you land? Why do you love a Fender bass?
So my first bass was not a Fender. It was a cheap, Walmart, no name something. And then I saw a Green Day concert when I was in 5th grade. It was my first show. And I saw Mike Dirnt playing a Fender P. And I was like, well, that's the one I got to get, because he's playing it. And then I bought that Fender P. And then now I've got like 4 more. Got a Fender Jazz, got a Fender Bass 6. It's like all I play. It's all I've ever played, and it's all I know. It's got 1 pickup, 2 knobs, so perfect for someone like me who don't want to think too hard.
So you like the simplicity?
Yeah.
And the sound as well. I mean, I imagine the sound's got to be a big part of why you're choosing it too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for not purely a country band, but country is a big part of what we do, and there is no more iconic sound in country music electric guitar than the Telecaster and a Fender amp.
Yeah.
That's kind of home base,
And everybody knows it instantly. Oh, yeah. Like, even if you're not a guitar player, like, that logo up there. Oh, yeah. I mentioned we're here at Bourbon Beyond too, and there's a lot of whiskey on this record.
Yes.
You talk about country. There's a good tradition of that. There's a good tradition of. Yeah. What is the character of whiskey and bourbon on this record, and what part does it play? Is it the friend? Is it the?
Just I'll let you answer that question, Sammy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess whiskey's around us all the time when we're on the road. Not that we, overindulge all the time, but it's always there, and I guess it is a friend at a lot of points on the road.
See, I hear it on this record, and these tales of caution almost, and it's like, oh, it's aiding.
Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of the record is about maturation, right, of ourselves, and also I guess whiskey kind of plays an interesting, like, synonymous role in that. In literally, but also, as you grow up, you figure out that some things are bad for you that used to be fun, and waking up feeling like shit is not always the greatest thing in the world. And so, there's definitely some caution to that throughout the record, I think.
Growing pains.
Yeah, I love it that it all gets to arrive at a festival, Bourbon Beyond, that it's up there. Like, these whiskey songs play really, really nice up there. There is a brand new single, and of course we're going to be premiering it here. It's called Something About a Sunset, which is a beautiful song. Here's the big question. Tell me about this song.
Yeah, I mean, it's really all about just like soaking in the moment, spending time with your loved ones, watching the sun go down, and then kind of also the sun going down is a reminder that time is fleeting. So like you really need to soak in the moment and enjoy life, and that's kind of what we're trying to do these days. I feel like, So
it's like stop and smell the roses.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I love that message, because when we look at that's what keeps me going. Got to dig in the dirt with some hope and a rake if you want your garden to grow.
Exactly. And I think, the pandemic, we wrote a lot of songs like that about just like simple things, enjoying the simple things in life. And, now that we're on the other side, I think that kind of stuck with us in our music, which is cool. So.
Well, it's a fantastic record. And even 10 years in with a great back catalog, it's a great debut in itself for the major labels. Dusk with you. Named Banjo, thank you guys so much for dropping by here.
Thank you.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All three of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.